Hello, my name is Georgios Chapantidis, and this is a video about astrology and asteroids. Specifically, how you can read trauma thanks to the asteroids, and I want to give you a few keywords for each asteroid so you can look the asteroid up and understand what it is that you're looking at, because when you try to find out about asteroids online, you find extremely scarce information. There's very little known about them. Most of what you know is from the myths, so you can look at the myths of each asteroid, which can help you a lot to understand the dots. But if you really want to know what it is about, you need to actually read charts. You need to actually talk to people who have these placements. And if you don't do that, if you're not an astrologer, because nobody really writes about them online except very few, then you're just not gonna know about them. So I made this video so you can know a little bit about them. Now the first asteroid I'm gonna talk about is actually the one that we do know about. Everybody knows about this one, Chiron, the wounded healer. I don't have to give you the myth about the guy who got hit by an arrow and it was poisoned, but he couldn't hear the poison, so he died. I will just give you some keywords. Now, if you have Chiron anywhere, if it's in Gemini, if it's in Pisces, if it's in Aries, if it's in the first house, the 10th house, the 12th house, the keywords are always going to be the same. It's just going to be focused on a different area. Chiron keywords are giving up, failure, childhood failure, and then crippling fear. Crippling fear. Because Chiron, we see, is about when a child does something over and over again, and again, it doesn't work. Anything, it could be anything, like it could be Gemini, Chiron, which would be your communication doesn't work. Your parents don't listen to you, they don't understand you. No matter how you say it, what you say, you still end up misunderstood. So maybe your parents are having some kind of cognitive issues with their brains. And instead of you as a child thinking, well, maybe my parents are just stupid, no, you think you might be stupid instead. So internalized shame is another keyword for Chiron. So you may try to communicate with them, but it doesn't work. You give up. You develop a strategy of avoidance. Avoidance. Chiron is about things we avoid because they just don't work. So why should I keep trying if it's not working? It seems like a sensible strategy to stop trying to do something that will never work. But of course, this is all based on childhood. Based on childhood, you know? And you repeat this through adult life. You get strategies that don't work in childhood and you do it for the rest of your life. So that's Chiron. And of course you need to heal yourself, so it's not permanent. Now we will delve into the asteroids that you don't know, because Chiron is literally the only asteroid that everybody knows about, that is actually used commonly in astrology. Next one, Lilith, the dark moon. Lilith, the dark moon, I've talked about it before in other videos. She's about rejection, taboos. So any aspect, any placement, any house, any whatever, you're gonna taboo that. You're gonna feel afraid of rejection. This is the area of life where you're afraid to be yourself. Pretty much. That's what it means. From a trauma perspective. Okay. From a trauma perspective. Let's talk about the next one. Ceres. Ceres, like any other asteroid, has a title too. She's the maiden of life and death. Her issues were about rape, because she was raped, taken into the underworld, taken as a hostage. Imprisonment, slavery. But in a natal reading, it's about where you experience loss and regeneration. Sounds similar to Pluto, right? Except it's not really about transformation. It's about preservation, which is very different from transformation. Transformation is about change. But Ceres is actually about maintaining what you have, feeding it, feeding what you have. This is about nurturing yourself in this aspect so you can avoid death, avoiding loss. This is a neurosis. A neurosis of trying to avoid loss very, very strongly. Why? Well, according to the myth, Ceres was abducted into the underworld and she tried to heal herself because she was raped and she felt impure, unclean. So she tried to undo the damage of being raped. Of course she failed, there was no way to do it. So she was obsessed trying to fix something that cannot or should not be fixed. It doesn't mean that you're going to be trying to fix things that are pointless, but it does mean that you're trying too hard. You're putting too much energy into that aspect of your life when it's actually preventing you from moving on. You get stuck with the loss. Stuckness. Okay, stuckness is a good word. Stuckness. Think about this. You get stuck in the underworld. You're stuck being the wife of Hades. There's no way out. You know? Easy. Easy. This took me years to figure this out. You can't read this online. So consider yourself privileged. Next aspect. Sedna. Sedna. Sedna is the Lady of the Frozen Waters. Ah, don't you love all these ominous titles? Lady of the Frozen Waters. I love the asteroids. Like, if you ask me, there's nothing better. Obviously, as the title suggests, it's about being frozen. Literally. But wait a second. There's a better word for it. It's a feeling about being paralyzed. Paralysis, okay? Unable to move. Unable to move. Unable to use whatever it is that Sedna is in. Unable to change. It's very similar to Ceres, but not that similar. Because other aspects of Sedna are betrayal. So this is where you get betrayed. Grief. This is where you experience grief. This is where you experience dissolution, disintegration, entropy, damnation. You know, these kind of things are good keywords for Sedna. Things where you just pulled into the frozen waters, you're submerged, you turn into an ice block. Turn into an ice block. Quite simple, if you can put it that way. For example, if I have a client with Sun conjunction Sedna, the ego is very inflexible, so rigid, inflexible, initially. Over time, they can develop flexibility by letting go. Letting go. Healing through letting go. Because they're holding on. Because they are holding on tightly. Very tightly. The myth of Sedna is a woman that was stuck on a boat. And she was holding on tightly on the boat in the middle of a storm, so she wouldn't drop off the boat and be consumed by the sea. She was with her father on the boat, and her father took a knife and cut off her fingers one by one, so she fell into the sea and got lost forever and died. So that's her myth. So Sedna tries very hard to hold onto that boat so she doesn't drown. It's about drowning. These are all the keywords that you need to know about this aspect. So if you have any aspect conjunction that, you're just gonna experience all of that. Have fun, enjoy. And what's the good side? The good side of that placement is you'll experience what it's like to delve into softness, you know? Softening. Okay, on the positive side. You have to soften. Soften is the only way out. Only way out. Because Sedna is a rock, stone, you know. Let's talk about the next one. Yeah, other asteroids. What other asteroids are there? Well, another one of these aspects is Pallas. Pallas. The goddess of wisdom. This is where we develop extreme insight because it's about self-defense. This is where you have to protect yourself with your mind. With your mind. Shielding from false information. So this is where you are deceived. There is a war waged on you, a war of misinformation. So this is quite interesting if you think about it. It's very different from the other asteroids, very unique in the way that Pallas is about when you deal with information that comes from other people and the information is incorrect. And if you don't find the correct information, you're fucked, you're screwed. If you don't get the right information, you're screwed. That's why it's the goddess of wisdom. Wisdom to protect yourself. If you don't protect yourself, you're screwed. With information, with knowledge, the correct knowledge. Need correct info, okay? Let's talk about Pholus. I give Pholus my own title. My title for Pholus is an impotent Mars. The first domino, a volcano before eruption. Okay? Pholus is about suppression. Put the lid on. Putting the lid on. So for example, if you had Pholus conjunction Mars, your Mars would be completely blocked. Pholus would, yes, completely blocked. Pholus puts the lid on, says, I will not use that planet. Using the planet only gets me into trouble. So for example, Mars, anger. Getting angry only gets me into trouble all the time. Getting to desire things. Wanting to chase after something. Investing my energy to get something done. Only ends in me being hurt. So if these things apply to you, malignantly, severely, to the extent of you're traumatized, you're neurotic, you're armored, then Pholus will be yours for the taking. on Mars, could be on Sun, could be on the Moon. Any planet conjunction Pholus is screwed. Put it simple, is screwed. That is fucked. It's very similar to Chiron, really. You know, it's just very, very heavy, dense energy. But, of course, with great potential, like always. There's a accumulation of pent-up energy. All this energy is accumulating. If you were able to harness and channel that Pholus, you're able to... You could do anything, you know. It's a volcano. It's... When the volcano erupts, it's going to burn everything down, and then everything is going to grow after the destruction. Destruction to heal, okay? That's why I call it an impotent Mars. Like Mars, it's about destruction. But the destruction is blocked. And you are the one who has to choose to destroy and allow yourself to be destroyed. So Pholus can be used. Allowing yourself to be destroyed. That's why Pholus is quite heavy. You need to be destroyed so you can lose the anxiety of the fear of being destroyed. That's what it is. Pholus is just, you're just scared as fuck, you know? Scared as fuck. As fuck. Yeah. So, what else do we have? We have Aries. Aries, yeah. So what's Aries about? Well, Aries is about passion. It's about drive. So it's not so bad as the other asteroids. But it can be someone who is very combative. You know, the warrior goddess. Combative. Somebody who gets into trouble repeatedly. Can't stay out of trouble, basically. If you can't avoid fights, because it's about irritability, it's about the need to speak up, the need to roar, you know, like a lion. So this can be problematic because while you can develop all these other asteroid strategies to block something, to reject something, to submit, to hide it, there are also asteroids, like Aries, which are about domination. So domination may be your strategy. So instead of submitting, here's Sedna, submitting, you know, unable to move. Instead of that, it's very much the opposite. You are dominating. Destroy to avoid destruction. Malignantly. Yeah, this is a bad thing in this case. So, for example, Pholus, that was also interesting. With Pholus, being destroyed is a very good thing. So you can lose the anxiety because you're too submissive. So you need some destruction, you know. But with Aries, there's too much destruction. It's the opposite imbalance. So you actually need to soften. Same strategy as Sedna. You need to soften, even though it's the opposite problem that you have. You know, this is often in narcissistic disorders, but also all kinds of disorders, you know, where people just feel like domination is the only way out, you know. Submission doesn't get my needs met with my parents, but domination does. It did work, so it will be used. So that's a good keyword section for that. The next one, Nessus. It's another centaur. Chiron is a centaur, Nessus is a centaur. And Nessus is about, is the guardian at the threshold. That's the official title. The Guardian at the Threshold. Oh, so ominous titles. So, the Guardian at the Threshold, like a guardian, it's a gatekeeper. It gatekeeps. You don't want that. You don't want Nessus on a planet. You don't want it to be gatekeeped. But it will do that. It will gatekeep. It will hide. It will cloak. It will mask. It doesn't mean it's going to be putting on a facade. It's not going to be like... It's not going to be faking it. It's just... I put a robe on. Hide that. And it's a cutting of all wires. It's about insanity. Somebody who... They feel like they're going crazy. So, in order to avoid the madness... Avoiding the madness... You need to hide. You hide. Okay? Okay. Why? Because Nessus is about lose-lose situations. Lose-lose situations with your parents. Why? According to the myth, I always refer to the myths. That's what an astrologer does. You have to use the myths. I mean, these are not your symbols. These are collective dramas. And the dramas reappear in the individual through the chart. So we can all read it in a shared reality. That's why it's very important to have a shared description. A myth, it's a shared description of every planet. So everybody can look at that. Nessus is about when Nessus had sex with Hercules' wife. He created a poison tunic, which, after Hercules killed him for having sex with his wife gave Hercules the tunic after Nessus was dead. And the tunic, because it was poisonous, it killed Hercules. So both Hercules and Nessus died at the end. So that's why it's connected to insanity, because it's about suicide. You know, this is about self-destruction. There's something about yourself which is just so entirely rejected. So it's like malignant rejection, you know, like you have Lilith, it's taboo, you're shamed as a slut, basically, you know, you bad bitch. And then you have Uranus, which I didn't mention in this list, but Uranus is also about rejection. But Nessus is like, I want you to be destroyed. It's very similar to Pluto, very Plutonic qualities. So in the way that Lilith is connected to Uranus, Nessus is connected to Pluto, Plutonic theme. But it is not about transformation. No. The theme is about finding an alternative to deal with the situation. Actually, no, sorry. Finding the courage to make a commitment. Because if you have a lose-lose situation, in psychology, if both parties are losing, and you know you're not going to get what you need to do in the house and the planet Nessus occupies, then you must make a decision. You must commit to something. You must. Of course you must, because otherwise there's no stability, there's no ego congruency. What you have left then is crippling anxiety. Crippling anxiety. Okay. So these are the themes for the main asteroids, baby, okay? Here's the list again, so you can look at it, because this is now the end of this video. There's more asteroids, but these are the main ones, okay? Chiron, Lilith, Ceres, Sedna, Pallas, Pholus, Aries, Nessus. Do you understand, after seeing this list, how significant having even a single one of these placements, only one of them, on any major aspect in your chart, imagine if you had one of them conjunction your sun or your moon. And there's more than these are. This is just the main ones. These are extremely powerful. And the fact that nobody talks about them, well, your loss. But I succeed because I will use them. So be smart. Be like Georgius. Use the asteroids because you're missing out if you don't. There's no reason not to use them. Why wouldn't you? Why wouldn't you have all this information in a chart? I don't get it. You know, there's really no reason. People are just, they need to catch up. They have some catching up to do. So if you like this video, leave a like or comment. And thanks for watching. Bye.